That time again at long last. That point in the year when nature begins to wither a little more each day until expiring into a wintry slumber. Something that's crept up recently is the thought of an October ritual, a tailor-made tradition regarding how to spend the haunting season. If you're the bougie variety, normies we call them, you're carving your pumpkins and shortlisting your selection of skin-tight, scantily clad outfits that you're assuring yourself is only a costume. Hey, I'm not complaining. If you're Blumhouse Productions, you're cranking out another lifeless remake cash grab to capitalize on nostalgia that other people pioneered because your original output is utterly lacking. If you're a cynical academic wise beyond your years and new to the YouTube scene, waiting for this month of the calendar since November 1st of 2019, then...
Here comes trouble.
But Incubus, you smooth-talking debonair, I hear you ask, where can I go to find solid recommendations on how to spend my Halloween this year? Well, look no further, disembodied voice coming from the walls. The Mind's Eye's here to hook you up.
What's your pleasure, sir?
As the days get shorter and
darkness falls across the land,
it's the perfect time to pop open a bottle and revisit the Blu-ray library for some past classics. This year, our favorite holiday has 5 weekends worth celebrating, like any good October should. There'll be plenty of Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror, and stream service offerings, but I like to capitalize on my movie watching and dig into my own personal horror stash. So, without further ado, here are 5 recommendations of scary movies, one for each weekend of October. Rather than random movies for you to pull up on Amazon Prime, I prefer to give my Halloween viewings a theme. And frankly, I'd be hard-pressed to think of a more underserviced genre of fear than that of body horror. With that in mind, I could go the predictable, see also lazy, route, and suggest The Thing, The Blob, The Fly, and call it a day. It's fitting that they came in threes, since this trio are such undeniable landmarks of the body horror subgenre, fear film class as a whole, and are the 3 greatest remakes of all time. You, as my loyal viewers, tune into the Mind's Eye for out-of-the-box thinking. So, since I mentioned the 80s, let's start there. You're not even legally authorized to discuss body horror without first acknowledging its godfather. David Cronenberg is one enthralling character. He was such a perfect addition to a roster of filmmakers such as Craven, Carpenter, and Clive. It always makes for appealing storytelling when anyone in showbiz grows desperate for a story, or in this case, new content for their smut TV network, and goes out in search for something that's forbidden. And brother, does he get more than he bargained for. Catching wind of an underground broadcast called, you guessed it, Videodrome, whereas others see only gratuitous sadomasochism with their eyes, James Woods only sees a potential hit on his hands. His possible viewership bump takes a speed bump when his own girlfriend goes missing after auditioning for Videodrome.
brother.
Leading him to go in search for her. After believing the violence he witnessed to be fake, he soon learns that his own reality has been cancelled. His journey down the rabbit hole revealing a web of conspiracies has been adequately described as techno-surrealist, socio-political, and psychosexual. Where do you even begin with the acid trip he endures? Spoilers be damned.
This place has everything.
His own torso used as a conduit for download of bioanalog data, vicarious mechanical arousal, sadist pleasure-seeking, firearms carrying weaponized tumor ammunition. This is a film not for the faint of heart.
Is it weird that I want to do it even more now?
A little bit.
If you heard me recommending a rape revenge film in 2020, you'd dismiss it as a Me Too man-bashing and tune right out. So, stick with me here. In the sophomore effort by the Soska sisters...
Hello, ladies.
We're introduced to a seedy subculture that uses the human body as a Rubik's Cube. If you think the premise of tuition debt driving a surgical student to apply at a strip club to pay for medical school, hey, we've all been there, is an overly familiar setup, then imagine the lead character's shock of performing emergency surgery on a man hemorrhaging in the basement, offered $5,000 on the spot, no questions asked.
Quite a twist, huh? Bet you didn't see that one coming.
Imagine that as your first round interview at any job. This unorthodox transaction is the first domino to fall in what snowballs into Mary's initiation to the world of body modification. Reinvigorated with a reluctant sense of confidence and a means of funding, her professors take note of her promising skills, an aptitude that's easy to come by considering her internship gives her hands-on experience. However, when she's invited to what she thinks is a networking event, things go all eyes wide shut, and Mary's is violated by her former instructor. Boy, did this guy just screw with the wrong person. Taking on extreme surgery full-time and using the club as her headquarters and its staff as her hired muscle, the dark web comes to recognize her by the moniker of Bloody Mary, whereas her former instructor comes to know her as goddamn Pinhead from Hellraiser, with a few lessons of her own for him over the penalty of rape. This movie is impressive for the sheer lunacy of surgical procedures humans endure to put their own bodies through for the sake of appearance or sexual gratification or any number of reasons of self-expression. I, for one, have never felt so uncomfortable in my own skin watching this carnival of horrors, and I love this movie for that, and for the induction into the surgical netherworld, and the imagery on display, and
twins. Love parties that never end. Dogs that love cats and twins. I love burritos at 4 a.m. Parties that never end. Dogs that love.
let's switch things up with this underrated mid-2000s horror comedy that doubles as James Gunn's directorial debut. Yes, that James Gunn. A small town plays host, figuratively and literally, to an alien takeover of the parasitic kind. What I love about this movie is it not only homages Space Invader B movies of the past, but also 80s creature feature classics, all while telling its own story. Furthermore, no two death scenes are alike because this extraterrestrial menace puts its victims through the ringer.
This place is gonna have everything. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, my son.
Fates worse than death are given comedic flair when the 5-course menu reads as snail chowder as your soup of the day.
Chow dear! Chow dear! It's chowder! Say it right!
Showdell.
Come back here! I'm not through demeaning you!
Breeder Baby Factory Souffle, feeders from the salad bar, your choice of entree, chicken a la fodder or calamari seafood, and as the main course, your own ass served up raw. I can't say enough good things about this movie. It gives you endearing characters to invest in that you want to see live, so that you care when you witness them die, albeit in amusingly gruesome ways. The slimy, drippy, oozing aesthetic is right on point, and I'm honestly surprised more sites and podcasters haven't christened this flick a Halloween staple. But the Mind's Eye's got you covered. If you prefer your body horror served satirical, then you'd be hard-pressed to find a finer dish. Catherine Isabel makes her second appearance on this top 5. For a list rife with subversions of expectations, here is another one that on paper has so much going against it. Normally, I wouldn't include a werewolf film on a body horror list because I consider it to be its own thing, and you usually only see the transformation once. Ginger Snaps, though, takes its time with its metamorphosis because it's treated as a metaphor for puberty. This could have easily played off as schlocky as Teen Wolf or desperately stylish like an equal parts underdog yet overrated Megan Fox film. You won't find any late 90s pop culture referencing or annoying quips from the teenage cast. Instead, because the character development and chemistry are so strong between the two leads, the movie is able to show you the changes the victim gradually endures. Growing hair from her scars, the extension of her spinal column into a tail, fangs, and claws. One often forgotten element of the lycanthropy formula that this film nails is behavioral changes along with the physical ones. While usually the marked victims are depicted as divorced from the atrocities committed by their inner monstrosity, this movie portrays the monster breaking through while still wearing its host's face. The loss of humanity wears a different skin in this cult classic. Most moderately budgeted film fare that doesn't cross over to the mainstream is treated as undervalued by the masses. This film frankly goes utterly unrecognized, and criminally so. We're given just the right amount of time to get to know our two couples and fellow tourists before they go out in search of a missing relative in the remote ruins of the jungle. When they are confronted by armed villagers who murder one of their numbers, they are inadvertently forced up the temple to seek refuge, right into the clutches of the monster's waiting arms. Discovering an abandoned camp at the summit, the captives begin piecing this puzzle together. The villagers weren't threatening them, they were warning them, and this haunted house will soon take residence underneath their skin. You wouldn't expect a Mayan temple to set the stage for a quarantine. Probably shouldn't have mentioned that word. But that's exactly what this film does with its characters. As starvation, hopelessness, and paranoia sets in, the group soon begin to turn on each other. For one poor soul, they experienced psychological terror of their own to accompany the body horror on display. The siren song that gives the tourists hope for escape has a distressing reveal that I instantly recognize as the makings of a great film. I hope that you enjoyed this list and appreciated a more unconventional take on your Halloween viewing. My intention with this top 5 was to at least reacquaint you with some old favorites, and, at best, maybe familiarize you with some new gems. The month is still early, the night is still young, and we're just getting started. Let me know some of your favorite October watch lists and ritual films you enjoy at this time of the year.